because it's sketchy to retrieve from cloud sometimes. Thank you. All right, so the point of this morning, and we've got some people who have joined us via Zoom, we've got some people who have joined us in person, which is awesome. The purpose of this morning is just to hear firsthand the experiences of parents, real parents who have attended our school. A lot of them have attended for different lengths of time. We have a lower school, middle school, and upper school perspective, so you can kind of hear it across the board. Tina has lower school and middle school, so we have lots of different voices here. I am going to ask some questions to start off, so just true panel method where I've asked some questions to them and they will answer. And then at the end, whether you are Zoom and you want to enter questions in the chat and unmute and ask questions, or a Q&A at the end if you're in person, you can just ask the questions. All right? Okay. So do you guys want to start just by kind of going down the line, introducing yourself? You can kind of tell a little bit about how you found Crosland, where your story started.
Okay, well, I'll start off. My name is Derek Fitzgerald, and my son is Devin Fitzgerald, and he is currently in 12th grade. He started here in 8th grade. We were kind of talking about that this morning. It's like, man, time really passes so fast. So he's been here for 5 years right now. My wife is on the phone, Troyce. So she has a better grasp of the history and details because she did all the legwork, because we did a lot of research looking at a lot of different educational institutions to make the determination what would be the best fit for Devin. So I'll let her kind of talk about the background and history when we get to that point about Devin.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Luis Cruz, and I have a 6th grade here in John Crosland. We started here when she was gonna go into the 2nd grade. It's been a great journey for us. Definitely, we have seen a lot of improvement with Jimena. I mean, she started here in the lower school, and now she did that transition to middle school, which was really exciting for us. It's just great. I can you know, express it enough how this school it's been great for us, and definitely you know, Jimena's loved it. So we just love this school so much.
My name is Tina. I have 2 boys, 6th and 4th grade, and they both started here when they were in 2nd grade. So my older one is very ADHD. Like, he very much stood out in a public school environment, labeled immediately, poor self-esteem. But he seemed to fit in here. They were very accepting, understood he needed extra movement. He didn't feel different here, like he stood out. And our younger one, well, they both benefit from the small class sizes. And our younger one, we've recently been diagnosed with auditory processing, in addition to some ADHD, but not the hyper kind. And so the small class sizes are so good for him needing some extra time to process things. And I mean, again, I could go on and on about the benefit. That is how we started.
Thank you. So some of you kind of touched on this already in your introduction, but like I heard you guys talking this morning, you're just kind of in this starting phase of trying to learn and see what your options are. So what kind of first drew you in about the John Crosland School? Where did you first kind of get hooked in being interested in this school?
Well, first of all, I think when Jimena, we started this whole journey, it was, I mean, we were in another private school, Trinity Episcopal School. And then, you know, they started figuring out, because their curriculum is so advanced and they have to be reading at a certain level at the kindergarten level already. They started figure out that Jimena was behind, and that's, you know, if she keep progressing, she was still way more behind it that she needed to be. So then, you know, they started recommending schools. We looked at different schools. We looked at Fletcher, which is another school. Then we looked at John Crosland. We started at that point, and then when we came to John Crossland, we did just like how you guys are right now, you know, we came and meet in person. You know, we just felt like it was home. I mean, the school, it's just been great. You know, with Jimena having dyslexia, ADD, speech impairment, it was just, you know, it was I guess for us as a family, it was like a breaking point that, you know, we take it to so many therapies, so many extra curriculum just to try to catch her up to see if she will be at that, you know, grade level that she needed to be in that school. And, you know, it was just stressful for us, going, you know, every single day she go to school. After that, we had to take her to different curriculums, and she won't end like the whole school thing until like 6 p.m. every single day. And it was just like, you know, is she's gonna hate school at one point? You know, that was our thought. And then, you know, we did this great meeting, you know, when we came to John Crossland, and they talked about how many kids per teacher they have, you know, I mean, like, just sounds so great. Like, and then from that point on, I mean, we just decided to be here, and I can keep going on and explain how many how much she has improved. But I think, you know, just get in there early. I think we were a little behind, but I'm glad that we figured it out and we made a choice at that time, because Ximena right now, I mean, she's doing awesome, and it's all thanks to the staff here at John Crossland and all the effort they put into.
No, that's okay. And you don't all have to answer each question either. So it just whatever you feel comfortable.
Okay. So we knew somebody here, and so their son was similar to ours, and so when we looked at it, it felt to us more relaxed. And I could tell my son was so much more relaxed when he was here. And we liked the flexibility of it, and the extra movement was a big deal for us, like not only having recess, but having a break and having the breaks throughout the day. I mean, that was a big deal for him at the time. I mean, it still was important. And also that they teach to the student. And so if you're in second grade, for example, but you do first grade reading or third grade math, like they can teach to you. You don't have to be held back because you're in second grade. So that's what Drew was.
And with Devin, I'll let Joyce kind of start it off because she did all the lead work with it. And, you know, a little bit about us is that she's more of the interpersonal type individual. I'm on the analytical side. So she was more involved with going out, looking at different schools, meeting with people, trying to get a better feel for what would be the best fit based upon the needs for Devin. And then I'm on the back side where I'm looking at, okay, how much is it going to cost me? You know, what about the ratios between the students to the teachers? You know, what's the curriculum, those types of things. And then we came together to make a final decision. But I'll let you kind of talk about it a little bit, Joyce.
Good morning, everybody.
You're
What drew
on
me?
mute.
Can you hear me?
You're on mute.
No, I'm not muted.
She's not.
No.
Maybe on her end.
See if I can have. Do you see what I'm saying? If I put sound on?
Can you hear me?
I can hear her.
Go for it, Joyce.
Can you hear me?
Go for it.
Okay. Good morning. What drew us to John Crossland, as Derek said, I looked at probably 10 different schools in the metro area. One, the cost was very expensive. Two, the classroom settings were too large, and it just didn't feel right when I went in there. It was more of what we're going to do, how we're going to do this. And it didn't feel cohesive towards the kid. And somebody mentioned John Crossland, which was formerly Door Academy. And I remember that when we moved here about 15 years ago. And so when I called the school, I was greeted and spoke with the former Director of Enrollment, Portia York. And she's very knowledgeable, very warm and inviting. So we came out to the school, and that's when Miss Rajeski was just coming in. And they were very inviting, knowledgeable. And one of the things that really struck me was just the front desk, Miss, God rest her soul, Miss Yetta. She was very inviting, and I just felt like that was a sense of belonging for Devin, because he was at Cuthbertson Middle School and had bullying issues, different things that where he didn't fit, and it was becoming very difficult to the point that we were scared for his safety. But after being at Crossland, he's very sociable now. Sometimes a little bit too much, but very sociable, came out of his shell more than he was before. And the teachers have been, and the staff has been really wonderful.
And I just add to
Echo.
I just add to that, it's just a little bit more. Our son has a chromosome disorder called 22q, or it's the George syndrome also, and he has learning delays. So it became more difficult where he was in, I guess, the mainstream classroom, and then he'd be pulled out for a couple classes, then have to go back. And he was always asking questions, why do I have to be pulled out? Why can't I stay in my own classroom? And it just became more difficult to navigate the situation. So that was, one of the big things besides what Joyce was talking about as far as the bullying. And we just saw that even though the teachers tried to provide the assistance and the support that they could, I mean, they had a large number of students that were in their classes, and they couldn't provide that one-on-one attention that we were looking for, and he really needed. So that kind of motivated us. And then, like Troy said, when we came to the school, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Hallie, this is kind of when you first started. And I think it's important, you have to have the appropriate and the correct leadership at top to direct the school. And I was impressed from the standpoint of how organized she was and how direct, and all the information, laid everything out perfectly, which is the type of thing I'm looking for. So that impressed me from that perspective, in addition to everything else we were talking about.
You kind of led me naturally into the next question I wanted to ask, and I know we were kind of bouncing around just a little bit, but I think a big question that I often get when I'm talking to prospective parents is about communication. And you talked about how impressed you were with that level of communication from the very beginning. So I just want to ask the question to everybody, like, currently, do you feel satisfied with how in touch with the school that you are? Do you feel like you get what you need in terms of communication and just being in the know?
I'd definitely say yes. And I'm a very straightforward type person. I will say at the start, as far as the communication from the teachers, it was kind of disjointed because you had different systems that the teachers were using. But nowadays, it's great. You got Google Classroom. You got the communication from the school from Orbitz. You email one of the teachers and they get back to you immediately with regard to the issue. If you need to talk with them, it's not like I'm going to schedule this 2 months down the road. Let's get together the next day or within a couple of days, and you can have that communication directly with them. You have the virtual classroom session they had one time. This is even before COVID, where you could go online and sit in a class. And I think it was, 15, 20 minutes or something like that, just to see what happens in the classroom. So exactly what's going on there. That really impressed me. Whereas normally public school, you can't go in the classroom. You just have to kind of figure out what's happening, but you had the opportunity to do that, which was impressive there. And then they have the Plus portal, which shows you, it has the grades for the students, what they've done as far as on each of the graded work that they've completed, be it test, quiz, or whatever it is. So you have those different platforms that provide you that feedback, in addition to the other various forms of communication with regard to what your child is doing and what's happening at the school.
And I have to say one thing also, when you
No, but I mean, communication here is definitely great. If they got some event going on, you either get an email, he said you go to the Orbit website, and then you pretty much, they have everything already laid out. And I mean, they stick to the calendar. So, you can plan ahead if you want to be there, or if you can't be there, you can. And especially with the teachers, like he said, if you do need to talk to them, email them, you can always come to the school and they can be for you there as well. So I mean, communication here is great, and I mean, that's really an important piece for us as well, just to see how Jimena is doing. If something happens or anything, we are want to know that communication is going to be fast and we can address any issues or anything like that.
I agree. It's great to be able to just email a teacher if I have a question. They always get back to me. The weekly in orbit is a great tool as well. But I mean, I feel like I could reach out to anyone at the school if I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously you're the parents and you're sharing your perspective, but I think we'd all be interested to know from your perspective, what do you think is your child's favorite thing about the school? Or what do they enjoy most since they've been attending here?
I think for Devin, it's the one-on-one attention. And then, of course, he loves participating in the sporting activities, extracurricular activities, because going to a public school, it was difficult for him just because of some of the limitations for him to participate, especially in sports. But here it's very open. And if a child wants to play any type of sport, they get an opportunity to play, which is great. And it's really helped him grow and develop and become more interactive.
I think for Jimena, I think she likes school overall. But I think she enjoyed a lot of her friends. I think she did, being on a bigger, prior to being here, having a big set in school where, there's hundreds of kids and not be able to, because she was really, really shy when she came. She was like at one point, like she didn't even talk. But when she came here to John Crossland, she started getting out of her shell, started going out of her way, being more active with people talking. I mean, prior to John Crossland, we could have a conversation with her. We could have said this, hi, how was school? She would say, fine, and that's it. But now, she sits in the car and she has like conversation with us, telling us about how school was. She did that, and was like, okay, nice. I was like, okay, stop talking now.
I can't imagine
yeah.
Jimena shy. Like I
Yeah.
can't just imagine you
But
saying
yeah,
that.
but I think she just loves school overall, and then one of her favorite things, I guess, it is her friends here in John Crossland for sure.
I would say the understanding environment, because the staff here just understands that there's a difference with each child and that they're all treated individually, whereas our experience with public school is that we had to fit the box or you were gonna very much stand out.
And I'm gonna read what Troy's added to compliment Derek was, I agree with what's being said. Also, you email one teacher, they communicate with the others. So the idea is everyone has a homeroom teacher, but if you email that person, it's their job to then share the news. So it's not up to you to think, oh, it's all of the friends know. And then Devin likes the friendships that he's gained, the care and concern given by the faculty staff to me, but also like even the janitorial staff, like Ms. Yonda is part of the school and that's pretty amazing. I'm gonna ask a question because I like transparency. What's one thing that your child wishes we had or wishes was different? Because I don't want to hear only the positives, because sometimes there are things that they, wish were different.
I guess mine will say having more time to get lunch, because she always complains about lunch. And that's the only thing I can think of.
So lunch looks like for 6th to 12th grade, they have 45 minutes, which includes eating and recess. And most of the time they're just outside. So, but yes, that's most of our kids' favorite time of the day. And then
No wonder why they want extra time.
I mean, if it was like 3 hours, that'd be great.
Very honest answer.
I'm going to channel my inner Devin, but I think what Devin would say is he would wish they had their own basketball court so they could practice here at school. Yeah.
Outdoors. PE is outside, behind us is Renaissance Park. So just the littles go, like the kindergarten, first graders don't go ready. Like, but the older kids take bikes or walk to Renaissance Park, and there's sand volleyball, there's softball court, there will be skate. But the idea, and then on rainy day. So a future plan is to have like an activity gym. It may not be standard, but yeah, it's something we do not have.
I would just ditto that, the gym. But for most part, outside work. So, but
Good question. Okay, so we've kind of covered some of these that we talked about here. Has the school in any way impacted home life in terms of you were talking about Jimena coming home and sharing more about homework, anything in that sense where you feel like you can pinpoint that the school has made that difference?
I definitely say, and Devin has issues dealing with this anxiety. That's the biggest thing I could see, which has been decreased, because I know when he was going to public school, every day it was something that was going on. It was a problem somewhere. He was always concerned about something that was going on. I can definitely say when he comes home now, the stress level has dropped from maybe about a 10 or 11 down to maybe a 2 or 3, because he just doesn't have it there. Am I going to say it's perfect? No, absolutely. Nothing is perfect, but definitely I notice if there is something that comes up, he can go to any teacher and the issue will be addressed. If we have questions about it, again, the correspondence directly with whoever it may be, Hallie, Mr. Hurd, who handles the upper school, or the counselor, whoever it might be, it gets addressed immediately. It's not any delay in those situations. So that's the biggest change I'd say.
I agree with that. I mean, I know he was only a second grader when we started, but his shoulders relaxed. He stopped saying how much he hated school and how dumb he was when he came here. And, well, actually, he was the only second grader the year he started, so he was in class with third graders. So then he started coming home and telling us what a genius he was. But he also stopped saying he hated school, and so that changed our home life a lot. I mean, in public school, he's coming home and having a meltdown every day. It was emotionally exhausting.
Yes, I can definitely relate to everything that has been said already. With Jimena being really, really shy to now having conversation with us, be able to have time to relax at home as well, and have her get some free time for herself as well at home. I mean, just things give us that peace that she's not gonna hate school, and now she loves school. She loves coming to school. Even if she's sick, she still wants to come to school, and I mean, it's just been very, very on that side. We just feel so grateful.
Kind of taking a step outside of what the classroom and the teachers have to offer, are there activities outside of the classroom that you feel like the school offers for your children? I know basketball was mentioned, I think already. Do you feel like there are kind of those extracurricular or outside things that your child is able to participate in likes, and if so, what?
I love that there's a counselor here that teaches social emotional learning, not only in the class, but she'll have after school classes for groups of similar age peer groups. And so my younger son loves that. It's a social activity for him, and it's improved his social skills as well. So that's been good for us. Several years ago, we did like a chess club. One of the teachers did that. So there are, there's more clubs, I think, for the older kids, but I think the social stuff has been great for us.
Same, I think Jimena did love that social club as well. And now the music or the band came through this, I think it was this year. She loved it. I mean, she had already been on piano for quite some time, And now she was really excited to try a new instrument with her teacher. She talked about like what she does in piano. She was really excited to, transition to a new instrument. So I think it's pretty great, curriculums that are there, and I'm not really sure how is it with the bigger kids, but it's great.
Yeah, I guess, from transitioning from an educational standpoint, as far as opportunities and, additional activities that are available to the students. Son loves sporting activities, so he's done flag football, cross country, basketball. And then from a parent standpoint, I know they do every year the parent mingle that they do to get to know some of the parents at the school. They do the bonfire, and I can't remember if that's just for upper school or if that's for the entire school, but again, those types of things to engage the parents in addition to the students are also, along with volunteering and, different events that occur on the school premises. They had a chili event, which I unfortunately wasn't able to attend because we were out of town. So it's a lot of things that are going on. So
Yes.
even though it's a smaller school, they still have a lot of activities.
Yes, and I guess I can pinpoint back a little bit on that, because I know Jimena did this little, so we're originally from Mexico. So Jimena is really proud to be, she was born in the US, but she says she's from Mexico. So she's really proud, so she's representing Mexico, so they did this little traditional dance that is from Mexico. It was just so amazing that, that we were able to present some of our culture to the students here, and they loved it. It was like, they had a lot of, the kids there, they had a lot of questions, it was like, and my wife, she couldn't be here today, but she did all the training with the girls, her and Alani, and, Jimena loved doing that. The chili cookout as well. It's great. It's just so many things that that we are able to participate in. It's just great for us, and that involves more with John Crossland.
Thank you for sharing. So I want to have time at the end for open questions. So kind of my last question from me is there anything else that you would like us to know? If I know we've covered a lot this morning, whether it's something that you wish we had, or just something else that you want to leave them with that you feel like we've not covered yet, and then we'll open up to questions.
Can you guys hear me?
I'd say from my perspective, if you haven't noticed, I'm African American. So my concern was the diversity and inclusiveness of the school. And I think they do a real good job of promoting that and trying to bring minorities into the school as best as possible. And then you have various economic levels, because again, I told you the cost was important from our standpoint. We have some parents at the school where it doesn't matter, but it was not we weren't those parents. We have to look at the cost of the school. But I think the school does a good job of pointing you and helping you navigate how to finance and manage the tuition for the school. Provide scholarships. They have the grants that are out there. They provide you a lot of information, which is an integral part, because I know we want to do whatever we can for our children, but we also have to balance with what we have to do in life.
Yes, I can totally agree with that as well. I think on that side, school has been great of helping us out on that part as well. And at the same time, my wife and I, we also volunteer to different stuff just to give back to the school. We participate like on the gala, chili cookouts and other stuff, but I think it's on that point, it's great that they're able to point us out. And like he said, I think when we came to John Crossland, that's the other thing that we look into, diversity and inclusion. That would draw us in pretty much to John Crossland. So that was really important for us. Like I said, we're able to express or have other kids learn about our culture. So I think on that part, we have been great, and thank John Crossland for letting us be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, those are good points. I don't have any more to them.
So at this point, whether you are virtual and you want to put a question in the chat or unmute, and I will make sure my speaker works this time if you would like to unmute and ask a question, or if you're here and you have questions specifically that you want to ask, kind of open that door up right now.
I'll ask a question, if you guys don't mind. So we talked about class size, right? Like, maybe this is just me not doing research enough before I came, but like, what's the typical class size? And I guess two-part question is one thing that we were worried about having a really small class size is like, what if he only has like a couple kids in his class and he doesn't bond with those kids, like, you know, so maybe like a medium-sized class would be better for him because he gravitates towards kids that are very outgoing, and we were worried, like, what if everybody's not outgoing in his class? And, you know, it was like a concern. We don't want him to get lost in the shuffle, but like, we were worried about having too small of a class size.
Can you do me a favor? Because they're gonna be able to answer better if you identify your age of your child.
Oh, he's going into kindergarten, I think, yeah, sorry. Yeah, he's young.
Well, I'll say, I already said, my son was the only second grader the year he started, and I was worried about that. But he was with probably 6 third graders that year, maybe 8. And he just fit right in. I mean, he's a social kid, so that was his class. But I will say that the school changes every year with people coming and going. And so his class size now is probably 10. And so I think, and the K through 5 kids have lunch and recess at the same time. So there is opportunity to socialize with kids that are not in your specific grade. This year, I think we have 3 kindergarteners, which is a big class for kindergarteners. And so there's opportunities, and then they shuffle them up like the specials classes, like the music, the Renaissance, the extracurricular, you know, the art. That's a mix of like K through 5. So there's different opportunities.
We had a parent this year that had your same concern. And then once he went on a field trip with his son, he was like, oh, concern over, I got it. Like, you know, so I think that's where, and I'm sure Carrie could connect you with that kindergarten family. Because that was their main concern, even after starting. So I think that idea of how do you balance great academics in a small setting, but then have social opportunities.
All right, any other questions?
Absolutely. My questions
Anybody that's virtual, do you have any questions that you want to ask in the chat box or unmute and ask?
Can I ask another?
Of course, there is no limit.
Like you talked about specials, and I'm guessing there's like the extracurricular stuff or the kind of electives, I guess, like, or maybe like, what all do you guys provide, or like maybe what do your kids enjoy, you know, from a parent standpoint? And then what all do you guys provide from a school standpoint?
So I'll start just from the school providing, and then you guys can talk about what your child enjoys if you want to. But for specials, this year we have art, we have PE, we have the Renaissance special, which is new and they love. I'm sure you guys can talk about that. Your kids love that. We have the music band this year we were able to bring back. Am I forgetting any? STEAM, yes. So lots of different options, and they cycle through those at a 6-week basis.
However, for kindergarten, typically specials are a little bit earlier in the day with a smaller group, but they definitely get PE, music, and STEAM. What's STEAM? So, science, technology, engineering, arts, all kinds. So it's typically building a prototype for a catapult. Are we dropping eggs from the roof here and seeing, can you build something to protect it? So it's for that idea of there's a problem and how are you going to solve it using any of your strengths and creativity. And so that's something that's, you know, pretty fun. Yeah. Or something like that.
And to add quickly, because it just popped into my head, is that, you know, I think the technology also is cutting edge, and I bring that up as Devin came on, so we have a 3D printer at school. I'm like, okay. So he was very fascinated with that and wanted to do things, and they set up projects. So they come up with innovative and creative things, and they do have the resources to accomplish those too, which is important compared to, you know, your public schools, which don't necessarily have all the funds they have.
Yeah, I mean, I think for specials, I think him and I like all the specials, so. I mean, she loves art a lot. but any other special, she loves, like he was saying, like technology it has been integrated, when she came in. So now she, anything she has to do, she's always on the computer doing something. She draws and all that stuff. So I mean, she loves all the special stuff. And just being able to, be happy with the other kids who also are on the same level as her, and just be able to basically, communicate with other kids and just have so much fun on specials. I mean, I think it's a great thing.
That was a good question.
What's Renaissance? Like,
Um,
sorry.
Like that period, the teacher teaches about that time period, like my younger son, they made a lot of different foods that week and he was all excited because then the one day they don't eat. So, I'm not sure.
So it's actually our kindergarten teacher. She started this year and has a passion for the Renaissance. She was a part of the Renaissance troupe and everything before, and that's just a strong passion. So she started the Renaissance special where, like you said, it's focused on that time period, and they've done a range of things from making their own food, making their own butter. They did the Renaissance weaponry, but before they could do that, they had to do Renaissance dance. So believe it or not, she had a group of middle school boys choreographing their own Renaissance dance with curtsying and everything. It was amazing. So yeah, it's a lots of different things.
I think it's just about how what is. Like for kids, that's like, what? And they're like, yeah, you would have to pose for a portrait and it could look like you were. So that was kind of, that's how she pulled them in.
Well, if there are no other questions, we're kind of hitting that phase. I think I want to thank you all first and foremost for coming and sharing your insight. I can hang around for a little bit after and talk more specifically. I'm the Director of Enrollment Management. So depending on where you are in this process, I'm happy to hang around and chat, show you around a little bit if you would like that. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you for joining virtually. I do appreciate it. Our first hybrid event. I think it went pretty well. So thank you so much.
Of course, my wife